Hey, shalom, shalom, Mr. Carr.
Shalom, shalom.
It's a pleasure seeing everybody again tonight. And if you the Father's will, we're going to have another dynamic lesson. And pray for we can get a better understanding of what's going to be happening in these latter days here. They outline the scriptures, and we're going to make sure that everybody gets a clear understanding on what to expect in these last days. So without further ado, anybody have any testimonies to share with us? We have Yahuah. He's going to share some information with us.
So as you guys know about my moving up to management team, I got the official start date. I did all the paperwork today.
Great, hallelujah.
So paperwork signed, money's agreed on, everything's good to go.
All right, hallelujah.
So I started
Monday, this coming Monday?
This upcoming Monday night.
Oh, okay. So you off until Monday?
No.
I thought they might have given you some time to get yourself together and everything like that.
You got to start right away.
Gotcha. Okay, good.
Yeah.
Good. Very good. Love it.
Yeah.
We have Brother James here.
So I got in college yesterday.
Hey! Okay. All right. Very good.
I'm not happy.
No.
He's leaving me.
Wow. Oh, you leaving?
Yeah.
I'm only 2 hours away.
2 hours?
That's a long time.
Wow. You'll still be in Georgia?
I'll still be in Georgia.
Oh, okay. Wow, 2 hours away. All right. Well, it's time for him to leave the nest and stretch his wings out.
Don't get too loud. I am not happy.
All right. This is going to be okay. Okay, Mr. McCall, we're going to go ahead and get tonight's class started. We're going to have our Chief Zakein to blow the shofar for us 7 times, and we'll have our good brother Shalak to do opening prayers for us. And from there, we'll read the renewed covenant the Father made with the nation of Yashra'al. And from there, we will read the 10 Commandments. And from there, we'll go ahead and get everything started. All right? Okay, shofar.
That everyone here is able to walk in knowledge and wisdom after we have learned these things. Father, we just thank you for what you're continuing to do with this Mishpachah, with this Knesset, with this your people. And we ask that you continue to allow your light to shine through us as we walk amongst our people. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah. Okay, Mishpachah, we're going to read the New Covenant, book of Jeremiah, Yirmiyahu, 31st chapter, verses 31 to 33. Behold, the days come, said Yahuah, that I will make a new covenant with the house of Yashra'al and the house of Yehudah, not according to the covenant that I made with their fathers in the day that I took them by the hand to bring them out of the land of Egypt, which my covenant they break, although I was an husband unto them, says Yahuah. But this shall be the covenant that I will make with the house of Yashra'al. After those days, says Yahuah, I will put my law in their inward parts and write it in their hearts, and will be their Elohim, and they shall be my people. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
All right. The 10 Commandments, Exodus, the 20th chapter, and we're going to read 1 through 10 that we have on our paper here. Okay.
Sorry.
And Yahuah spoke all these words, saying, I am Yahuah thy Elohim, which have brought thee out of the land of Mizraim, out of the house of bondage. Thou shalt have no other Elohim before me. Thou shalt not make unto thee any graven image, or any likeness of anything that is in heaven above, or that is in the earth beneath, or that is in the water under the earth. Thou shalt not bow down thyself to them, nor serve them. For I, thy sovereign, thy Elohim, am a jealous Elohim, visiting the iniquity of the fathers upon the children, unto the third and fourth generation of them that hate me, and showing mercy unto thousands of them that love me, and keep my commandments. Thou shalt not take the name of Yahuah thy Elohim in vain, for Yahuah will not hold him guiltless that take his name in vain. Remember the Shabbat day to keep it set apart. 6 days shalt thou labor and do all thy work. But the seventh day is the Shabbat of Yahuah thy Elohim. In it shalt thou do any work, thou, nor thy son, nor thy daughter, thy manservant, nor thy maidservant, nor thy cattle, nor the stranger that is within thy gates. For in 6 days Yahuah made heaven and earth, the sea, and all that is in them. And rest the seventh day. Wherefore Yahuah blessed the Shabbat day and made it set apart. Honor thy father and thy mother, that thy days may be long upon the land, which Yahuah thy Elohim giveth thee. Thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not commit adultery, thou shalt not steal, thou shalt not bear false witness against thy neighbor. Thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's house, thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's wife, nor his manservant, nor his maidservant, nor his ox, nor his ass, nor anything that is thy neighbor's. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. All right, that's a big time commitment. Hallelujah. 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 Okay. Mr. McCobb, we're going to go ahead and get tonight's lesson started. And the title of tonight's class is The Trumpets and Plagues of the Father Yahuah. And we have the Paleo Hebrew written up on the board there. We have the Yod, the Hey, the Hu, and the Hey. The 4 characters there makes up the Father's name. And we want to begin by giving all esteem to the Father of Yahuah for his mercy, his kindness, and his love that he set forth first. And that's very important. The Father loved us first. That he set forth first for his people, the 12 tribes of Yashra'al. And again, spelling and pronunciations will be very important. We're going to start getting to that a little bit throughout the classes. So Yashra'al would be the Yod, the Shin, the Resh, the Aleph, and the Lamed. This is all the ancient Hebrew writings here. So, but we want to start off first as making sure that everybody understands the salvation plan of the Father, and it's all surrounded around the Mashiyach, Yahusha HaMashiyach. And right next to the Mashiach's name, we have his name spelled in the Paleo Hebrew. We have the Yod, the Hey, the Hu, the Shin, and the Ayin. All right, that gives us Yahusha. So the salvation plan existed from the very beginning. That's very important. The salvation plan existed from the very beginning through the Father's Moedim. The Father's Moedim. That's going to be very important. So what we're going to do first is go to the book of Bereshit, the first chapter, verse 14. Genesis, the first chapter. And we're going to read verse 14. We want to talk a little bit about, again, the salvation plan that the Father set up, and it's all foreshadowing Yahusha HaMashiach. 1:14. If you can get Shalak, please, to read that nice and loud for us.
Bereshit chapter 1, verse 14. And Elohim said, let there be lights in the firmament of the heaven to divide the day from the night, and let them be for signs, and for seasons, and for days and years. Right,
hallelujah. So what we should be looking at in verse 14 is the word season, all right, the seasons. And that's the Strong's number 4150. Anybody have that? Okay, we have the word moed. So, the definition for that, we have the answer to Strong's number 4150, and it means an appointed place, an appointed time, a meeting. This is the Hebrew word study, transliteration, pronunciation, etymology, and grammar. It means an appointed place, an appointed time, and meeting. An appointed time, a sacred season, set feast, appointed season, a place of meeting or tent of meeting. And then the Brown's Driver Briggs definition gives a nice definition which talks about a fixed time. Very, very important. A fixed time. Meaning now that these festivals are supposed to be occurring at a fixed time every single year. Every single year. The next scripture that we want to go to is the book of Tehillim, or the book of Psalms. The 40th chapter, chapter 40, and we want to go to 7 through 9. 7 through 9. And we're going to have, if Shalak can do that one for us too, please. Let me just catch up with you here a little bit. Psalms, the 40th chapter. Verses, let's start with 6.
Start with 6?
Yes.
Okay. You ready?
Yes, sir.
Tehillim chapter 40, starting at verse 6. Sacrifice and offering thou didst not desire.
Mm-hmm.
Mine ears hast thou opened. Burnt offering and sin offering hast thou not required. Then said I, Lo, I come, in the volume of the book it is written of me.
And so when we begin to talk about the salvation plan, here we have David, a Dawood, speaking in the set-apart spirit, or the Ruach, and he said, I, which is the Mashiyach, lo, I come in the volume of the book. It is written of me. So when we talk about the Mashiyach now coming in the volume of the book, what book are we referring to?
Torah.
Torah, hallelujah. And now, Shalak, you have the Greek reading.
Septuagint?
Yeah, the Septuagint
Yes, I do.
of verse 6.
Yes, I do.
Yes, so what do we have in verse 6?
It says, Sacrifice and offering thou wouldest not, but a body hast thou prepared me. Whole burnt offering and sacrifice for sin thou didst not require.
So when we begin to look at verse 6 now, looking at the Septuagint, it says now again, just like the brother was reading, sacrifice and offerings thou wouldest not, but a body was the Mashiyach prepared from the very beginning. So this explains now the salvation plan that the Father had already set up, again from the very beginning. I'm going to read verse 8 and 9. The Mashiyach now, I delight to do the Father's will, O my Elohim. Yes, thy Torah or my law, or your law is within my heart. Now what's interesting about that word heart there is not led, Allah. That's not the word that we have there. This word here is actually ma'ah, the mem, the ayin, and the hay, or some might say miyah. But what's interesting about this word here, Dawood now is talking about, he wants this now to exist in his internal organs, his inward parts, his bowels, his intestines, his belly. Meaning now is that Torah now is supposed to now encompass our whole body. Our whole body. Now once this happens, you now come or become what we call an enlightened being. This is what happened now when Moshe was in the presence of the Father, or the Mashiyach here. Once you're in the divine presence, your aura or your being now changes. This is the reason why Moshe's face glue, or it shined the way that it did, because he just came from the presence of the Mashiyach. Now we see that same transfiguration now happening with the Mashiyach when he takes James and Peter now to the top of the mount, and he also transfigured, and he's now shown as this bright illuminated light. So this is what we're looking forward to now when we get our renewed bodies. Once we truly, truly follow Torah, and understand the Father's Moedim and what the Mashiyach actually came to do, and how important the Torah is, we now become enlightened beings. The same type of enlightened bodies that Adam and Kua, or Eve, had inside of the garden. But when they broke the laws, statutes, and commandments, they lost that glow and that luster. We'll talk about that at another time. The book of Hebrews. The book of Hebrews. Again, we're talking about the salvation plan that the Father set up from the very beginning, and he's using Yahusha Mashiyach, which explains now his salvation plan. The book of Hebrews, or the book of Hebrew, 10 verse 7, and we can get our brother Shalak to read that for us again. Start from there. Read that for us, please.
All right. Hebrews chapter 10, verse 7.
Here I go again. Verse 5, please.
Verse
5, 6, and 7.
Okay. Starting at verse 5. Wherefore, when he cometh into the world, he saith, Sacrifice and offering thou wouldest not, but a body hast thou prepared me. And burnt offerings and sacrifices, for sin thou hast no pleasure. Then said I, Lo, I come in the volume of the book.
Hallelujah.
It is written of me.
Hallelujah. Very good. So right now, everybody should be able to see real clear, nice and clear, that salvation plan, the Mashiyach, was prepared from the very beginning to die for the nation of Yashra'al. That is very, very important for us to understand. For the nation of Yashra'al, the nation of Israel. All right. Again, tonight's class is called The Trumpets and Plagues of the Father of Yahuah, and we're about to go in a little bit deeper here because the birth pains are going to now intensify. They're going to really, really intensify, and we pray that everybody gets a clear understanding of tonight's class, and let's try to be prepared for what's about to happen. Because our scripture tells us that day should not overcome us as a thief in the night. That should not happen to us because we're going to be like those 5 virgins there. We're not going to let that oil burn out on us. Hallelujah?
Hallelujah.
Yeah, we want nobody to be taken away. Nobody wants to be taken away, right?
That's right.
Okay, hallelujah. Okay. The book of Revelation. The book of Revelation, the 16th chapter. The 16th chapter, verses 1 through 2. Shalak, if you could continue reading for us, please.
I got you.
All right.
Revelation chapter 16, starting at verse 1. And I heard a great voice out of the temple saying to the 7 Melachim, Go your ways, and pour out the vials of the wrath of Elohim upon the earth.
Right, and so verse 1, I want everybody to understand now, again, the birth pains are going to now intensify. And it says now, pour out the vials of the wrath, okay, because the Father is coming back with vengeance. So these vows now will represent now the wrath of the Father, and they're coming upon the earth. The earth here. Read on.
And the first went and poured out his veil upon the earth. And there fell a noisome and grievous sore upon the men which had the mark of the beast, and upon them which worship his image.
Hallelujah. So verse 2 is very self-explanatory. All right. Nobody should be taking the mark of the beast, because things are going to be heating up. And again, the first went and poured out his veil upon the earth, and there fell a noisome and grievous sore upon the men which had the mark of the beast. So again, this plague fell upon those that had the mark of the beast. Revelation, the 8th chapter, verse 7. So I want everybody to pay very close attention to what's going on. So we have a vow being played out first. Then we're going to have a trumpet. So there's a difference between the vows and the trumpets. Making sure everybody understands what's going on here. So if you can read chapter 8, verse 7. 8, verse 7.
Revelation chapter 8, verse 7.
Oh, we're going to do it again. Verse 6. Verse 6, please.
Revelation chapter 8, starting at verse 6. And the 7 Melachim, or messengers, which had the 7 trumpets, prepared themselves to sound.
So we have 7 angels in Revelation, the 16th chapter. They had, what did they have?
7 trumpets.
You talking about in 16?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was 7 trumpets. And they poured out the first one, which was the mark of the beast.
Those
7
vials.
vials. Yeah,
So we're trying to show there's a difference between there's 7 vials and there's 7 trumpets. So I had to make sure that maybe somebody's reading from the Aramaic Peshetter, and I just don't see it here. But no, so we're going to try to make sure that everybody understands the difference between the vials and the trumpets. So in verse 8 now, we're talking about the what?
Verse 6.
Okay, read on. You're talking about trumpets.
Okay, verse 7. The first Melachim sounded, and there followed hail and fire mingled with blood. And they were cast upon the earth, and the third part of trees was burnt up, and all green grass was burnt up.
Hallelujah. So the first angel sounded. He blew the shofar, and there followed hail, fire mingled with blood, and they were cast upon the earth, and the third part of trees was burnt up, and all green grass was burnt up. So I'm going to write this down here on the board for those that are on Facebook and YouTube land. The first trumpet is sounded. Earth land mass is. These numbers will be very important. 57 billion. 505 million. 693,767 square miles. All right? Square miles. Scripture tells us in Revelation 8, chapter verse 7, that it says that a third, or 33% of the land mass is going to be destroyed. So 33% of 57 billion gives us, what'd you say?
More than half,
A third. We're dealing with thirds here. So we got 18 billion, 976, 878 million. What we got here? And we have 943, which gives us now only 38,528,814,824 square miles of earth that is left inhabitable. So again, we're talking about the wrath of the Father that's coming. We went over Jeremiah, the 30th chapter, verse 7, so many times, Jacob's trouble. And again, just making sure everybody understands how serious this is, these vials and these trumpets, and they're filled with the wrath of the Father. And again, only 38,528,000,000 square miles is only going to be left during these 42 months here. So I just want to make sure that everybody is properly prepared about what's about to happen and making sure that we have a full understanding of Scripture. The book of Shemot, the 9th chapter, verse 23-25. If we can get Shalom Yoel to read that for us, please. We're going to go to the book of Shemot, the 9th chapter, 23 to 25. Book of Exodus.
Then Moshe stretched out his staff toward Shemaim, and I will send thunder and hail and fire ran down to the earth, and I will rain hail upon the land of Mitzrayim.
So anybody see any parallels that's going on here?
Yeah.
Okay, so we're talking about, again, now, this hail and this thunder and this fire, which is also mentioned in the book of Revelation, the 8th chapter, verse 7. Read on.
There was hail and fire flashing continually in the midst of the hail, very heavy hail, such as had never been in all the land of Mitzrayim since it became a nation. The hail struck down everything that was in the field in all the land of Mitzrayim, both man and beast. And the hail struck down every plant of the field and broke every tree of the field.
Read verse 26, please.
Only in the land of Goshen, where the people of Yashra'al were, was there no hail.
Hallelujah. So what we want to do in these last days here is make sure that we're under the proper covering. And the only way that we would be able to survive all of this here that's prophesied to happen, because anybody remember the very first scripture that Moray brought out last week? Because he told me that if anybody was to guess who could bring out the very first scripture that you brought out last week, without looking at your notes, you get a chance to drive his BMW for the rest of the week.
Ecclesiastes 29.
Okay, so you go
She
get
looked
a
at
chance.
her.
Well, I kind of volunteered. Oh, you cheated? Oh, okay. But if you can read that for us, please. Ecclesiastes, excuse me, 1 and 9.
Ecclesiastes, we want to read?
Yes, please.
1 and 9. The thing that have been, it is that which shall be, and that which is done is that which shall be done. And there is no new thing under the sun.
Hallelujah. So we see these things happen before, and they're going to happen here in the last days here. Nothing new under the sun. The book of Psalms, the 11th chapter, verses 5 through 6. Solomon, I don't see Solomon. Solomon, brother Yahuah.
Okay. Psalms 11, verse 5. Okay.
Oh, he is here?
Yeah, I'm here.
Oh, okay.
Act like you're yelling at me.
Oh, okay. All right. Let's hear from you.
Psalms 11, verse 5 says, "You will try the righteous, but the wicked and him that loveth violence, his soul hateth.
Right.
On the wicked he shall rain snares, fire and brimstone, and horrible tempest. This shall be the portion of their cup."
Exactly. So that's going to be the portion of the wicked. When we begin to talk about these plagues that are actually coming, these plagues are falling upon those that don't have the mark. Don't have the mark. Now, what I want everybody to pay close attention to in the book of Psalms is the word tried. The word tried. We have... Anybody have the Strong's number for that one? Try. The Father's going to try this.
7:4.
Yes, what do you have?
It says Balkan.
Mm-hmm.
To test, especially metals, generally and figuratively to investigate, examine, prove, tempt, try, and trial.
Right. So the Father's going to examine throughout these 42 months whether or not we're going to be found worthy now to be part of this wedding supper that is outlined in Scripture for us to have. But again, we must make sure now that we're not part of this disaster that's definitely going to happen according to Scripture. But what's interesting now is before the messenger of Yahuah pours out his vow and the first trumpet is sounded, Revelation, the 7th chapter, verses 1 through 3 must take place first. Must take place first. So, if we can get Brother James, if you can read for us the book of Revelation, the 7th chapter, verses 1 through 3. Actually, 1 through 8.
"And to the angel of the church of Ephesus."
Call out where you're reading from. Call the book out and chapter and verse.
Yeah, Revelation, the 7th chapter, verses 1 through 8.
Revelation 7, verse 1.
Mm-hmm.
"And after these things, I saw 4 angels standing on the 4 corners of the earth, holding the 4 winds of the earth, that the wind should not blow on the earth, nor the sea, nor at any tree."
Right, because remember now, we just read Revelation 16th chapter, we just read Revelation the 8th chapter. It talked about that these things had already begun. So what we're trying to share here tonight is that before these things are done, the 144,000 will be sealed. These 4 angels now are given the commission by the Father to hold back these 4 winds and make sure that you don't hurt the earth. Okay, and read on. The earth and the sea, read on, this is going to outline everything for us.
"And I saw another angel ascending from the east, having a seal of the living Elohim. And he cried with a loud voice to the 4 angels to whom it was given to hurt the earth and the sea, saying, Hurt not the earth, neither the sea, nor the trees, till we have sealed the servants of our Elohim in their foreheads. And I heard the number of them which were sealed. And there were sealed and 144,000 of all the tribes of the children of Yashra'al.
That is very important. The 144,000 consists of the 12 tribes of Israel. I want to show everybody something. Read on.
And I heard the number of the tribe of Yahuah were sealed 12,000. Of the tribe of Reuben were sealed 12,000. Of the tribe of Gad were sealed 12,000. Of the tribe of Asher were sealed 12,000. Of the tribe of Naphtali were sealed 12,000. Of the tribe of Manasseh were sealed 12,000. Of the tribe of Simeon were sealed 12,000. Of the tribe of Levi were sealed 12,000. Of the tribe of Issachar were sealed 12,000. Of the tribe of Zebulun were sealed 12,000. Of the tribe of Joseph were sealed 12,000. Of the tribe of Benjamin were sealed 12,000.
Hallelujah. So we see here now that all of these people here consist of the 12 tribes of Israel. No mystery. But there still seems to be a problem on whether or not these are actual Israelites. We're going to skip around a little bit here. We're going to go to the book of Bereshit, the 17th chapter, verse 20. And I'm going to read this here. Because me and Zakane had a nice little conversation a couple of days ago about this whole thing with Islam and Muslims, and our people don't really want to accept that according to Scripture, we fit the T to this, like a hand in a glove. Like a hand fits a glove. There should be no problem with anybody understanding, but proper understanding that we are not Muslims, we are the people of the book, and we're going to show this tonight also with these plagues that's going to be coming here to the earth. And we want to make sure that we're under the right umbrella. It says now in the book of Bereshit, the 17th chapter, verse 20. I'm going to read verse 19. And Elohim said, Sarah thy wife shall bear thee a son indeed, and thou shalt call his name Isaac. And I will establish my covenant with Isaac, which is to him, for an everlasting covenant, and with his seed after him. And as for Ishmael, the father of the Arabs, as for Ishmael, I have heard thee. Behold, I have blessed Ishmael, and will make him fruitful, and I will multiply him exceedingly. 12 princes shall he beget, and I will make him a great nation. So there's 12 tribes of Israel, and Ishmael also had 12 mighty sons, and they became a great and mighty nation. But it gets a little bit, watch what happens in Genesis the 25th chapter. Genesis the 25th chapter. And we're going to start at the 12th verse. 25 and 12. Now these are the generations, or the sons of Ishmael, Abraham's son, whom Hagar the Egyptian, Sarah's handmaid, had bore into Abraham. Now these are the names of the sons of Ishmael by their names, according to the generations. The firstborn, Ishmael, we're not counting him because he now had sons. His first son name was Nabijah. The second name was Kedar, Adbeel, Mibsam, Mishma, Duma, Masa, Hadar, and Timar, Jeter, Naphish, and Kedema. I didn't see in the book of Revelation, the 7th chapter, when we talk about this priestly kingdom that's going to be set up, I saw none of the names of Ishmael there. None of them. But yet, our people claim to be Muslims, but the Quran does not explain how our people came over here to the shores of America. And the scripture tells us now is that Torah needs no mate. We can't use the Quran to verify anything, but we're going to show something here tonight in the Quran. If you go to the Quran, the 2nd chapter, we're going to be reading this here tonight. All right, we got the Quran here, and we're going to try to see what all this hoopla is about. Our people want to gravitate towards every single thing else, but Scripture tells us, why trimmest thy ways to seek love? This is in the Quran, okay, in the Surah, the 2nd chapter, verse 47. O children of Israel, remember my favor which I bestowed upon you, and that I preferred you to all mankind. That's in the Quran. All right, the Quran, we're going to stick there. The 3rd chapter, verse 33. 3 and 33. It has the word Allah. It says, Allah chose Adam, Noah, the family of Abraham, and the family of Imran above all mankind. In the Quran, we're not done yet. 5 and 20. Chapter 5 and 20. I want to bring out a point here. 5 and 20. And remember when Moses said unto his people, O my people, remember the favor of Allah to you, that he may profess among you, which is the nation of Israel, that he may profess among you, made you kings, and gave you what he had not given to any other nation. In the Quran. Okay. We're going to stick with the Quran. We're going to go with the 6th chapter. I'm going to read verses 84. 84.
Now, for all of the people that know about Islam, these are scriptures that they don't bring out. Out of the Quran. They don't bring that out.
Nope. Absolutely not.
Once you finish that, Akeem, I can tell people how Muhammad died as well.
Oh yeah, we're going to do a class on that. I just wanted to touch on just a couple of things here. And we, the messengers, bestowed upon him Isaac. And we bestowed upon him Isaac and Jacob. Each of them we guided, and before him we guided Noah, and among his progeny, David, Solomon, Job, Yahusha, Joseph, Moses, and Aharon. Thus do we reward the good doers. And then it has here, they have some footnotes here. But the list just goes on and on. When you get the time, you can read the Quran, the Surah, the 29th chapter, verse 27, 40.